Hello, my name is Marcus Chavez. I'm with IFARA TV. Today we will be cablecasting segments of the press conferences that were held during the 22nd CROI, which is the annual conference on retroviruses and opportunistic infections, which took place in Seattle, Washington this year. This segment will be presented by David Cooper, who is with the University of New South Wales in Sydney, Australia. David gave the Ngali Mann lecture entitled Antiretroviral Therapy, Past, Present, and Future. David will talk about antiretroviral therapy and the global rollout of ART.
Thanks, Scott. As you know, this lecture is more about clinical research and public health research. I've worked most of my career on antiretroviral therapy, and in one way or another, I've watched the development of every antiretroviral drug that we now have available. My talk's actually in 4 parts. The first part is how I originally came into the field, which was the description of primary HIV infection, and I'm going to talk a little bit about how this is important in terms of a window into pathogenesis and treatment. The second part is related to some of the antiretroviral drugs. I'm going to look at some of the drugs historically and try and point out some lessons learned. And I'm going to talk a little bit about efavirenz, and particularly its importance in the rollout, and whether whether dose optimization of efavirenz should be taken up. And then I'm going to speculate a little bit on where we go in terms of, and this is a global aspect, where we go in terms of a universal regimen as the WHO recommended in the last guidelines, whether there will be improvements on that. The third area I'm going to touch on is really strategy trials, and the main thing I'm going to talk about is early treatment. This is a hotly debated subject, and I don't really want to come down on one side or the other. I understand the arguments on both sides, but I think they're important issues to highlight in terms of the personal benefit of antiretroviral treatment when people don't have serious immune deficiency, versus the public health benefit of prevention of transmission and the tension in that debate. And lastly, I'm going to finish off with something I'm very passionate about, which is the rollout, the global rollout of ART. We have 13.8 million or something, 13.6 million people as of June 14 on treatment. According to WHO guidelines of less than 500, we need to get to about 23 million. I'm sure Ambassador Birx is going to tell you that the funding of PEPFAR is flatlined, as has the funding of the Global Fund, and I'm going to talk about whether there are any ways to make sure that we get to the goals that WHO UNAIDS want of 90-90-90 by 2020. 90-90-90 being 90% of people knowing they're infected, 90% of people on treatment, and of those 90% suppressed. So that's the summary of my talk.
Thank you.